Dave, thanks for speaking to us today. Earlier we announced that you'd be stepping away from your role with the club at the end of the season. How did you come to that decision?
Well, I think I've just reached retirement age, 65, and I think that's about time where I always thought. I've probably looked over the last couple of years, looked at it a bit in the COVID year, and thought. And obviously I spoke to a few people and they said to me, when are you going to finish? You'll know when it's time to finish. And I think we probably, certainly if there was this period where it looked like we might go in the conference again and there was no way I was doing another year there. As it turned out, we missed it and we were on a great surge at the minute. And even if we got promotion, I still think, even if we were like right in there up till the end of this season, which would be beyond my expectations, to be honest. If we did that, it would still be time to step away.
You joined the Mariners as an apprentice way back in 1976, along with your brother Kevin. What can you remember about your early days at the club?
Yeah, 76, and again, it was completely different, obviously, in those days. That I'd played for Grimsby Town Colts when I was about 14, 15, 16, but it wasn't like School of Excellence now, an academy. You weren't associated with a club when you were 8, 9, 10, 11, none of that stuff. I first played my probably first game for Grimsby Town Colts when I was 14 or 15, and our Kev she's 2 years older than me, so he'd be 17. Tommy Casey came to our house in Bargate, the manager, and sat down with my mum and dad and said we'd like to offer Dave an apprenticeship. And Kev had stayed on at school and did his A-levels. So we actually joined on the same day, the summer of 76. And for those who's around my age, those who can, it was the hottest summer for 100 years, 76. And we used to get on the bus here in the morning and drive to Wheelsby Woods. Again, pre-season training, completely different. We never saw a football for 2 weeks. Just on the bus, drive to Wheelsby Woods, run around Wheelsby Woods for hours and hours and hours. And like somebody would say, can we get a drink? Get a drink when you get back to the ground. Now, if the lads run a lap, they want to have a drink and stop for a drink. Honestly, it was so hot. So it was tough, it was hard, it was really hard, long days and hard work. 78, the Blundell Park flooded. Literally, the Humber was across Cleethorpes Road. So all of the houses down Blundell Avenue flooded. We came in here, the water was 2 foot above the benches. So get mop buckets and take it out onto the pitch and stuff. It was just like, yeah, so 76 was great start, but great lads. Kev Drinkle, myself, Tony Ford, Sean Moyer, just lads who went on to play hundreds of games for the club. And it was, just a fabulous time.
You were, of course, part of the side who won back-to-back promotions in 79 and 80. Looking back, that must have been a special time in your career, especially as a Grimsby lad.
Yeah, again, when you're doing it, when you're actually there and playing, wasn't as if we were coming every day and saying, oh, this is great, and all local lads together playing. But then when you look back 25 years later, and I think 5 local lads, or four, 5-stroke local lads playing in the same team, me and Kev playing at the back, Kev Drinkle playing centre forward, Tony Ford, Terry Donovan was here, Sean Moyer was here. To get, as I was saying, I used to laugh a bit with Harry Clifton, and he'd get the ball, and he's one of our own. I think, what was the song then in 76? 78, 80, 81. Half the team was one of our own. Really, it was a brilliant time, and we the first promotion with John Newman. So I'd made my debut I think I played the last 17 games, something like that. And Sean Moyer was another, so I replaced another local lad at right back. We got promotion then, and we thought, oh well, it would be a big leap, the next division. But then John left. John got promotion with us and left straight away and went to Derby, and George Kerr took over. And George said, "Oh, there's sort of no reason we can't go again." And we was like, "Well, that's a bit optimistic," but turned out to be true. And the second season, to get promotion back to back is very difficult in any division for any team, even if you've got loads of money. And we certainly didn't have loads of money. The second one I remember. As we got near the end, I think about 8 or 10 games from the end, something like the Express or the Mail did a poll around all the managers in League Two, League Two. Who do you think will get promotion? And then in the league that year was Sheffield United, Sheff Wednesday, Blackburn Rovers. And it was most people went, "Oh, I think Blackburn Rovers will do it with Howard Kendall." And then someone else was, I think Jack Charlton was manager of Sheff Wednesday. Ian Portfield was manager at Sheff United. And it was, "Oh, I think they'll do it, and I think they'll do it." And I think only one person said, "I think Grimsby will do it." And of course George was like, "They don't believe in us," you know. And we'd had a great run. But to finish off here, against Sheffield United with 20,500, was it? When the lads say to me now, "Oh, you know, how many is it? About 8,500 in," and I think, how the hell did we squeeze 20,000 in here on days like that? An incredible day. And for obviously for Kev, myself and Kev played at the back, batching goals. For 40 in front of me for Kev Drinkle, for a local kid. Who 2 years ago had been at Whitgift School. Sorry, maybe by then would we be 19, 20? We'd be 20, I think then. For a local lad to score a hat trick in front of his 3 years after leaving school, in front of 20,000 people, with, like say, 5 kids who I played against Kev since we were 12 years old, you know, or 11 years old. So. Yeah, incredible times, yeah.
After time away with Carlisle and Blackpool, you rejoined town in 1986 as a player youth coach. Did you coach any future Mariners, Dave?
Yeah, well, it was Mike Lyons who found me and said, I'd done all my coaching licences, and he said, "Would you be interested in coming back and doing the youth team job?" And I sort of was and I wasn't. I was probably a bit younger than really. I didn't know whether I've been struggling a bit with my back, and I didn't know whether it was the right time. But then you see, you only get so many opportunities to go into the coaching side. Anyway, I ended up doing it, and I came back, and the youth team at the time of that year, the ones I recruited, I remember there was obviously a few people here who was with us, but there was the ones I recruited. Mick obviously had a connection with Liverpool, so we drive across to Liverpool in the club van. We drive to the Rocket, which it's a pub at the end of the M62, and we picked up half a dozen Scouse lads waiting in the car park. All jump in the back of the van, bring them back here, put them in digs down Brett and Avo, somewhere fairly close, and have trials and do all that stuff. But out of that youth team came players like, obviously, John McDermott was in that youth team, Mark Lever was in that youth team, Tommy Watson was in that youth team, Jeff Stevenson, who went and played quite a few games for us, was in that youth team. And I look at that now and think, if any youth team since that team, you've got 1,000 Grimsby Town appearances in that youth team, at least. And so for Mark to stay and play 15 years, for John obviously to stay 20 years, John was still here when I came back, for Tommy to play 150 games, probably a hell of a lot of those at championship level, was an incredible time. And again, the youth team job was completely different. It was completely different, Jack. I came in, I had a van, I had a big Mercedes van and portable goals, and he used to say to the lads in the morning, "Get the goals on the back of the van," and they'd strap the goals up on the roof of the van, and we'd drive round Grimsby looking for a bit of grass. Honestly, we'd drive round Grimsby looking for a bit of grass. We'd go on the front at King George there. We'd go to Wheelsby Woods. we'd find a bit of grass down. There was a beautiful little bit of grass down the seafront, just on the left-hand side as we drive down there. And if all of those places were stuck and we couldn't get a school and we didn't have a training ground, I'd say to him, go and check the pitch. And Tommy or Mark or John would run out the back there, over Fuller Street Bridge, onto the beach. Yes, perfect, Dave, the tide's just gone out. Or, nah, the tide's in, Dave. Like, oh, we'll have to go somewhere else. So, and there was none of them had an individual learning plan, and none of them had the four corners, tactical, technical, social, and all. None of them had any of that stuff. We just had a group of kids who wanted to play football, and somebody who sort of keep them fit and show them a few things, and it was so simple then compared to the rigmarole we produce now to produce a young footballer.
A different time.
Times.
Your coaching journey continued with Lincolnshire rivals Scunthorpe United, where you were manager for a couple of years in the 90s as well. How did you find management?
Yeah, it's okay. Again, I left here at the end of, would that be about 90, wasn't it, when Mick left and we got relegated, and then Alan Buckley came in, and I met with Alan, and he I'd done that'd be my second year as youth team coach, and I met with Alan, and he said, I'm going to bring my own guy in, and I shook hands with him and said, you know, I'd do exactly the same in your position. I wish you all the best, and hopefully it goes well. And I then went away for a few years and went to Scunny, as you say, did 2 years as a youth team coach at Scunny, 2 years as assistant manager, and then 2 years as manager. It's managing's big highs and big lows. You're a king when you win and you're a mug when you lose, and there's very little constructive analysis of being a manager. When you win, the first thing you should remember is the best managers are always in the stands. Never forget that. So when you win, you know, well, yeah, that's the team I would have picked. And when you lose, oh, you're an idiot. What are you doing? Why did you do that? So, as you say, you're a king when you win and you're a mug when you're losing. It's highs and lows. It was good. I enjoyed it, and I would have carried on. Always getting the next job is the hardest. Getting the next job. Usually you get a job because you're Johnny on the spot, you're there at the time and you take over and you do fairly well, and then you get a chance. And I had some good times, I enjoyed it. There was, you know, again, at every club I've been at, met some lovely people when I was at Scunny. Bill Green, who was the manager before me, was a fabulous guy. Taught me so much. You know, you meet people they've forgotten more about football than I'll ever know, you know. They were really good people, so I enjoyed that. But it obviously suited me miles better to come back.
Later you became a physio, and that's obviously how you returned to Blunder Park for your third spell in 2004. You must have some fond memories of the people that you've worked with and also the moments during the last 20 years, Dave.
Yeah, again, I was just saying to somebody last week, so this is 20 seasons now, isn't it, 2004, yeah. 20 seasons. 20 players a season, that's 400 players. And honestly, Jack, and I could count on one hand the number of kids who I think I didn't really like him or I didn't like him. And I could tell you 100 kids who, what a great lad he was, what a smashing kid he was. Or he was like a funny guy, or he was yeah. So, generally speaking, I've met hundreds and hundreds and hundreds more good people. In that time, what's that, 20 seasons, that's at least, God, is that 10 managers? Probably. Might not be far off.
Probably more.
Honestly, it might not be far off. And again, not one of them. From Slady, and then did Graham Roger take it, and then Woodsy had it, and then Alan came back, and that was brilliant when Alan came back. When Alan Buckley came back, he said to me, he said, you know, the first day I came in, and I said to you, basically you're going, you know, I'm bringing someone else in. He said, and you went away, he said, and everybody who ever said, he said, I've never heard that you said a bad word about us, like, I've never heard that you bad-mouthing me behind my back or anything. He says, no, I'm really looking forward to working with him. And I worked with him for, like I say, the next one. He was brilliant, lovely fella. Again, a guy who's, like say, forgotten more about football now, let me know. He's a great fella. And so intense and so, yeah, just loved. And then after Alan, who came, Slady came back, didn't he? Which would have been great. And I could see why John did it at the time and thought it would work. And he was a more experienced manager and he'd gone away and done really well. And it just, I don't know, it just didn't seem to work. And I think, again, supporters are a bit different because they thought Russell had left and sort of jumped ship and maybe don't even know the full story. So you go from people like, say, Russell and Alan, who Alan's obviously done 1,000 games, Russell was near on 1,000, to new managers like, say, Michael Jolly or Marcus Bignett. Newley came, obviously. I helped Neil when Neil did it for a while. But there's not one single one of them who I've got a bad word to say about. They were all great with me. Every single one of them said, look, Dave, you just look after them. And my thing's always been, Jack, look, if you want my opinion, ask me. If you don't want my opinion, I'll just keep my mouth shut and sit on my icebox, you know, I'm not. So I think they sort of appreciated that. Don't think anyone ever thought I was, like, you know, saying anything behind the back, basically. I know it's a hard job. It's a hard job at any level of English professional football. To win games consistently is extremely difficult. Yeah.
We couldn't interview Dave without mentioning that fans have noticed that you're always wearing shorts, whatever the weather. Is that a comfort thing or perhaps a superstition or something like that?
I think that it started. I think it when I went. I did a couple of years at Swindon in 2000, and Steve McMahon used to wear shorts all the time. He's a great guy, Steve McMahon. And I always wore, pretty much at any game, I'll always be in shorts. But now it seems to have developed into this thing with the supporters. There's a couple of things I wish. I wish I was 100th as tough as some of our supporters think I am, and maybe 1,000th as fit as some of our supporters think I am. So if anybody sees me walking around Tesco in a pair of trousers, they're like, what you got trousers on for? I haven't got a normal life, you know. When I'm at work, when I'm at Blundell Park at work, yeah, you'll never see me in anything but shorts. Doesn't matter really what the weather's like, I'll always be wearing shorts. But I try not to walk into the bank in a pair of shorts. I don't want to look like a weirdo. And we did have we had a season. I think it was Simon Ramsden. I had a pair of shorts and a t-shirt on, and Simon Ramsden said, I was freezing out here, and I was like, it's not bad, come on, it's all right. And he said, oh, you're going to wear that? He said, I bet you can wear it all season. And I was like, yeah, I could. And I think him and Tom Newey and someone else, I had a bet with them that I'd wear shorts and a t-shirt. But then a few years later, I thought, well, I think I'll start putting a jacket on at least. But I stuck with the shorts, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of fans wanted to know that answer, so it's Simon Ramsden's fault, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Finally, how do you feel about your near 48-year association you've had with the Mariners? Proud, I'd expect.
Yeah, 100%. Again, what's that expression? Find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life. That's, people pay to do what I have done for 20 years, really. You know, I'll come into work in the morning, there's a few injured lads, come on then, let's go down to the gym, let's go down to do this, let's go out on the pitch, let's do this, let's go and do a few circuits. Like, people pay gym memberships to do that. We're good company, we're funny guys. Some brilliant memories. The Wembley trips. I think what was that? 5 Wembley trips I've done. 5 Wembley suits. 30 quid suit when Slady did it, and a £300 suit when Alan Buckley did it. Cardiff with Russ as well. Cardiff with Russell Slade. I say Wembley for the what was it called then? JPT final against MK Dons with Alan. And obviously the couple of times with Hursty, and they're finally getting promotion. That's right up there. That was great. That was probably one of my favourites. It seemed to be. It took a while. It seemed to be, and when you, obviously the year before you get beat in the final, it takes a lot to go again. It does take a lot to get a group together who want to have another go at it. And the night we got promotion with with Paul and Chris and Andy Warrington. We'd been out in Cleethorpes for a bit, got back to Cleethorpes, went out for a bit, nowhere left open. We came back here. I had the keys to the ground, and we came back here and we sat up in the manager's office and sat there all night until 7, 8 in the morning. Macca came back, Sean came back, Gregor Robertson, a couple of other younger players. And we sat up, most of us sat up all night, and Alan Lamb, youth team coach, and then we went down to Brown's Caff. About 8 o'clock in the morning, went down to Brown's Caff on the seafront and had a bacon sandwich to sober up a little bit. So I've got some brilliant memories. Obviously some massive disappointments, some days the biggest disappointment was the Cardiff with Slady, or just going into the playoffs with Russ. We should never have been in the playoffs. We were in the top 3 virtually 45 of the 46 games that you needed to be in the last game, in the last minute of the last game we dropped into. Then we thrashed Lincoln in the first leg of the playoffs. And then we'd beaten Cheltenham. We were a better team than Cheltenham. We'd beaten Cheltenham twice. John Ward, who was with Cheltenham, was a great guy, a lovely pal of mine. And we went to Cardiff and we just didn't turn up, did we? We were terrible on the day. Didn't play very well. Went upstairs, had a couple of drinks with Russ and didn't see him again for 5 years. He left straight after that. So yeah, that was disappointing.
And I presume we'll still be seeing you around Blundell Park next season and beyond.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I was watching the Mariners before I was associated with the Mariners. I was watching the 71 games. I was watching Laurie McMenamin's team as a 12-year-old kid, walking down Cleethorpes Road, with 20,000 people on when we played Exeter. So I was here before so yeah, what is it? Mariner till I die. Yeah, so I'll definitely do a few games.